Brooke Jean is a licensed therapist, coach, speaker, and a badass mama whose purpose is to normalize the imperfect life we get to live. She empowers her audience to let go of who they think they are in order to create the life they have always wanted. So don't miss this uplifting episode filled with laughs. Oh boy, we can laugh together and a few tears, but most of all, juicy stuff you just don't want to miss. Hi, everyone. I am so happy. I know every time I start a podcast, I say that I am so happy, but I am so happy because I have my sister from another mister today.
Woo!
And, and I want just to say how thrilled I am to have you, Brooke, here. And thank you so much for being part of the show.
I'm so glad to be here, and I'm just so glad that you're in my world. I'm so glad that we met
I
and that I have
know.
you in my sphere. I just feel like we're such kindred spirits, and I just get delighted every time I see you or talk to you or anything in your energy. So I'm grateful to be here too.
Thank you. And I
Yeah.
think the main reason is because, first of all, we have very similar energy. We're
Mhm.
mamas. And
Mhm.
also because we're here to serve women.
That's
And
right.
that is so empowering on its own, you know? I mean, I was talking to a client today and, I don't know if it happens to you, but sometimes when you talk about the money part, it's kind of like, for me, it's like a little tarnishing, because it's all energy and beautiful and whatever. And when I was talking to her, I said, you know what? Yeah, we're going to talk about that. It was so funny because the first thing she said to me was like, I want to work with you. And I'm like, okay, that's great.
Okay, well,
But
let me go through the logistics. Do I need to go through the logistics? Maybe I don't.
exactly. But I said it to her, my passion is to empower women. And I have to make a living, right? So that other part comes with it. But it's like I want to talk about it later. Let's talk first about you, and I feel that you are like that too.
100%. 100%. And I think that spirit is a spirit of abundance
Hmm.
in and of itself, which is why I think I'm very attracted to you and your energy. It's like we embody that abundance, that giving spirit, that wanting to empower, that wanting more and more, and knowing we deserve and are worthy of more and more and more and more, and what's possible for us when we lift our sisters up. We get lifted up too, right? So
100.
it's like, I feel like, yes, I'm paid well for my work, but I get paid in so many ways. When I see a sister rise,
Mm.
like I literally said to my coach, my mentor the other day, I was like, nothing turns me on more than a bitch getting rich. I was like, my nips are
Oh,
so hard right now. Because she said, what are your wins? And I shared a win from one of my
no.
clients who just had a massive,
I saw that.
did you
Like,
see that?
yes, I
Like
saw that. And
life
I was like, oh
changing,
my
right?
gosh. Yes.
Life changing win. And when I get to witness and walk alongside a woman who goes through a life changing win, nothing turns me on more. It's like we were brought here for that. You know what I'm saying? It feels so good. It turns me on. So we get paid in more ways than one. We just love being part of the journey, right?
100. My husband said to me that that's my high. I said, you
It
don't need
is.
to
Yeah.
drink, you don't need to smoke. I mean, it's all good drinking and smoking, but you know what? You don't need to do that because you get so excited. When I go to my husband, I go, oh my God, I gotta tell you something.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, sometimes I find a great pair of shoes, and that would be a lot of
Mhm.
excitement for me as well. But I will
Absolutely.
come and say, oh my God, one of my clients just opened her business and she's doing this and she's doing that. And I'm so proud of her. And then if you see her 6 months ago, she was a total different person. And he's looking at me and he goes, dude, you don't need anything else. This is your high. Okay. Let me have a glass of wine so I can meet you in that vibration because you don't need anything
Yes.
else.
Yes, it's so true. But that's how we know that we're in our purpose,
Yeah.
right? When we get so lit up by
Hmm.
the work that we get to do and by the stories we get to be a part of. It's true. It's like, yeah. And whenever, sometimes when I tell my husband, he doesn't have the quite the same level of excitement. And I'm like, dude, why
Right.
are you not tickled pink right now. And he's just like, I don't really know the right response to have. And I'm like, you shouldn't have to think about it. Why are you not like turned on by this, buddy? Okay, that's not his calling. That's not his purpose.
But I get it. I get it. It's
Right?
like, did you hear what I said? You're
Did
not
you hear what
listening,
I
right?
just said? She
Sometimes
got a
I
$12
throw in a
million deal.
conversation, I'll go because I want to make sure he's listening to me. So I'll go, I'm pregnant. Just if he's
To
listening.
see if you get any fluctuation whatsoever in the tone, the body language, and you don't, do you? And you're like, are you fucking kidding me? What are we doing here?
Exactly. So, and then I went here and I did this and I did that. And he's just with that face, and I'm like, he's thinking about something else. I know. So then I go, and I'm pregnant. And he looked at me and he goes, mm-hmm. And I'm like, he's not listening.
You're not even listening.
I
And you
don't
know
even
what?
have a uterus.
I'm vibing so high. I don't even care that you're not listening too, buddy.
Right. I just didn't hear
so
it out loud. Okay.
Our husbands need to meet. They're probably
Yeah.
the same. My husband's like Mensa intelligent, very smart. He's very analytical. He's always in his head. I'm always trying to drop him out of his head and into his body.
Yeah,
And
preaching
like, I
to the
think
choir.
he needs me. Like, I'm the crazy one in the family, and he's the very like grounded, the ocean floor, and I'm the waves. And we need
Oh,
both,
totally.
right? We need
Totally.
both.
Yeah,
But
totally. That's what we
sometimes
need,
I'm
the
like,
yin and yang. Yeah.
we do. But sometimes I'm
He
like,
will
dude,
come to me.
muster up some energy about this client win for me.
He'll come to me and he'll say, why are you so happy?
Oh my God.
And I go, wait, what? He goes, I mean, what happened? Like, he needs the actual tangible
Data.
reason, the why
Yeah.
am I so happy? So you look at me like, are you okay? Why are you so
Yeah.
happy?
Why are you so happy? He needs the data points. What happened? What was the process?
Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. But I'm so excited to be here. And I'm just grateful for the work that we get to do in the world. And yeah, something about helping women rise, right?
Yeah.
That's
And I
it. That's
think
it.
that it's kind of, I don't want to say a default thing or a default superpower, but in a way it is because we have gone through so much fire that we can understand. So when somebody comes to us and say, I feel stuck, I feel lonely, I lost my purpose, I have imposter syndrome, I don't feel worthy. We know those feelings because we have said those things to the mirror.
That's
And
right.
we can just look at them with love and empathy and say, I know how you
Exactly.
feel. Now, let me help you get out of that funk.
Exactly. Exactly. Like that's what I think makes some of the most powerful coaches, guides, mentors, healers in the world is just that true empathy of having walked
Yeah.
a mile in some shoes. I say it all the time. I'm like, the trauma is what has made me the woman, the mother, the leader, the mentor that I am today. Because I learned something about myself in each piece and I understand humanity better having gone through each thing. So the compassion is there. There's
Right.
no judgment. You think that your life is dysfunctional? Trust me, I've been there or I've seen it or I'm currently doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a no judgment and a really true deep understanding of like what it is like to be in the struggle on the struggle bus, right, in life. So absolutely, I've
Yeah.
been through
And,
some
and,
hurdles.
and you started with those harsh moments at a very early age,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Tell
definitely.
tell the audience whatever you want to share so they can understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I feel like it's so many different layers and levels, but I think it starts as young as 8 years old. I have two siblings, one a brother and a sister, and both have in their own right had to fight to live. And my sister, the youngest one, was born with a brain tumor.
Yes.
And so her first few years of life were in ICU. It was very intense. But I remember making a conscious decision at 8. I'm not going to be a burden for my family. Like, we can't handle any more problems and stress. And that was where my perfectionism started of I need to be the smart one, the star. I couldn't just be a cheerleader. I had to be the All-American. I couldn't just be on, the softball. I had to be the pitcher. I had to be straight A's. I had to be teacher's pet. Like this intense drive to not be a problem, to not be a burden, started at a young age. And so what that led me to was hiding traumas that happened to me, and hiding of the traumas led to an eating disorder, right? Then led to drinking and partying way harder than I should in college. And then I got pregnant with my son in college and went through trauma with his father, but made a conscious decision that I was going to be a young single mom, and I was going to have this baby and take him to college and get a good career going. Um, and then raised a baby, while climbing the corporate ladder in corporate America, and still was carrying a lot of my dragons and demons at that time, because I was one of those people that the way that I handled my trauma was to overachieve. And if I just did more and had a bigger job and made more money and had a nicer house and a da 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 da, you wouldn't know how ugly I was inside because of all these traumas that had happened that I kept buried in. So yeah, I mean, it starts as young as childhood, right? And then it goes into adolescence, of where we start being at war with ourselves. And then it shows up as substances and overusing substances. It's just been kind of one thing after the other that I've, one by one, and yet they're all kind of intertwined, had to overcome, had to be in recovery for, had to learn again, had to get curious about. But it's been a journey, and there's been different modalities and different ways that I've healed each one, and that I continue to heal each one. But yeah, I feel like I've been on some sort of struggle since as long as I can remember, to be honest.
Wow.
And so there's a real like tenacity of wanting to like stay, of like, how do I say this? Convincing yourself to keep going.
Right. But I think it is also, first of all, I want to acknowledge you because I am familiar with some of those struggles. And I know that oftentimes, because we don't want to be a burden, we are a burden to ourselves without knowing.
100%.
And what a weight for a child, to have to live with those conditions. Like, I cannot just be.
Yeah.
I have to be this, because if I am this, then I am going to make it easier for my parents, but also then I'm going to receive love, and I'm going to receive the attention, and I'm going to receive all those things that perhaps I wouldn't, because I have siblings that are not well, and all the attention is going there.
Yes.
So, and then from being that perfect, quote unquote, child, you go to the negative attention. Now I'm going to get attention, but it's going to be a different attention because I resent that I had to be this person that I perhaps didn't want to be, but I felt I was forced to be. So now I'm going to rebel. And now I'm going to get all the negative attention, still attention. They still looking at me. They still pay attention to me, but for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
So I feel that we do that, and those traumas stay with us. And the talent, to put it in a way, is to recognize that when we're adults, and we know we're shifting back to that and say, hey, I recognize that version of myself. Yeah. I know where you're going to bring me. I'm not going with you there.
Yes.
Because I know better now.
That's right. That's right. And it's always attractive, right? To jump into the slippery slope of self-sabotage and just fucking shit up, like every once in a while, I just want to fuck some shit up. But I know now, like, that doesn't actually get me any closer to the things I truly want, which is the joy and the peace and the connection and the contribution and all of those things. But yeah, I've had to run into that fire, girl, hundreds and thousands of times,
and
right?
You will run again, because that's just part of being human. I mean, I think that to an extent, we're afraid to be happy. So when we're happy for a long time, the maydays are coming from the back and going, be careful. There's something is gonna go wrong. So you
Mm-hmm.
know what? I'm gonna make it wrong. So then I am in control. So I'm gonna sabotage myself because
Yes.
I've been happy for 3 days and this is too much for me to handle.
That's right. That's right. I've actually been hitting up against that upper limit problem lately because, my brand is unperfected. So I went through this whole journey of ditching the perfectionism and getting to the root of the trauma and understanding all the things and the parts and all of that. And now I'm at this place in business where I'm bumping up into a next level of success. And the upper limit problem that I'm experiencing now is what you just beautifully articulated, which is I realized I had this deep fear of like, can I handle
Mhm.
that level of success and responsibility and visibility and joy and abundance? Can I handle that? And do I really deserve it? And so that's been the work lately, is getting my system energetically trained to receive and also give at a higher level. So yeah, I mean, are we ever really done with the work? Probably not. It just looks different now, right?
It does. It does. I was talking to one of my clients today, and I said, when you are open to receive, things
Mm,
are coming to you.
yes,
Not everything that comes to you is beautiful and good for you. So
that's
you
right.
have to be able to say, wait a minute, yeah, I'm open to receive, but that I don't want, thank you. And
Mm,
I said, and I asked her this, and I said, if somebody comes with a gift for you and you don't want that gift, who that gift belongs to? And she looked at me and she's like, nobody? And I go, no, the person that is bringing you the gift. So when you're open to receive and you start getting things that are not aligned with the person that you want to become and that you're working to achieve, right?
mm-hmm,
Then you have to also say no to that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Maybe that looks easier to achieve that goal, but that is not aligned to what you want to be or who you want to be. So yes, you're open to receive, but you also have the choice to say, I don't want to receive that because that
mm-hmm.
is not going to serve me. And
That's
that
right.
is so freaking hard, especially when you are climbing that ladder of success that is not the same for everyone. But when things start happening for
Mm-hmm,
you and everything is good, suddenly something's sneaking, and you
mm-hmm,
recognize it and you're like, wait a minute, should I let this happen?
mm,
It's going to be good for me. Yeah, it's
mm-hmm.
going to bring me closer to my goal and faster to my goal. But is it worth it?
Yes,
Because
yes.
it's going to bring me back to that place that I don't want to be. And I know I am so familiar with. And I
Mm-hmm,
know what the consequence of that is. So it's so crazy to me when I have to explain to them, but it's so amazing and I enjoy it so much. But when I have to explain to them, yes, you're open to receive, but you also have the power to say
mm.
no. You don't have to receive everything that is bring to you. Yeah.
Yeah, but yes, exactly. That's what I call standards,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Boundaries. Yeah.
And boundaries. It's like, what are my non-negotiables at this level? Well,
Mm-hmm.
my non-negotiable is it has to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be fun. Like joy and playfulness and pleasure and purpose. Those are my core values. Those are my like soul's expression. So it has to be fun. So that could be an incredible opportunity for me, but it's not fun.
And
It's a
it's a
no
no.
go.
It's
It
a
has
no.
to be fun. It has to be from the heart. It has to be potent, right? So I think you get more and more clarity around like, what are my standards? What are my boundaries? Because every no is a yes to what's more aligned. And every yes is a no to yourself and your highest vision of what you're trying to create. But you're right. I think we as women particularly struggle with that because we've been conditioned to be grateful for everything
Oh yeah.
and to take what you can get and blah, blah, blah. And so we also love to nurture and take care of people. So when someone says, help me, it almost goes against our like our biology to be like, no, thank you.
Right.
But we have to learn how to do that so that we can stay in a lane of what feels good, because then we can have the biggest impact, right? The
Yeah.
work can be juicy and potent and we can love it and we can feel alive in it. And that's going to help more people. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a real kind of shedding of shoulds and how you were conditioned to be able to set those boundaries, because I mean, when I first started in my business 10 years ago, I started out just doing therapy and coaching, and I was like, I should help everyone.
Right.
Right. And then in our industry as therapists, we're taught we should and should. And you also like shouldn't be wealthy, right? Because the wealth, all these narratives that I'm like, wait a minute. No, like the truth for me is that I should absolutely live abundantly as a healer and helper, because then that overflow pours out onto the peoples. What do
Right.
you mean I should be a starving therapist or whatever? Like a starving artist. You've heard all of it, but it's like, no, 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 no. Those are not rules that I'm following anymore.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can call me a bad therapist. You can call me whatever you want. I know the truth. The higher truth is the more abundant I am, the better I show up and serve. We all win. It's a win, 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 win all day long. But yeah, I will say I agree with you. So many women are like, they say yes to everything because they feel like they should and they're supposed to and they want to take care of people. But you learn pretty quick, like what's a yes and what's a no. And we're giving you the permission, ladies, to just go with the hell yeses. And the rest is
Especially
someone
when you
else.
are saying yes to somebody else and you're saying no to you.
Yes.
Especially that. And to talk about the money part and the success part,
Mm-hmm.
how are we going to be a billboard to our
Mm-hmm.
clients and to any other women if we don't live in abundance?
That's right.
I
Right.
rather create a FOMO
Mm-hmm.
and say, what am I missing? Why I don't have what she has? And
Yeah,
I
what's
don't care
possible?
if you call me a bitch in the process. I
Yeah,
don't care, because if
right.
I'm inspiring you to
Yeah,
want more and to look for more and to strive more, then yeah, call me a bitch all you want. And
that's
let
right.
me be your billboard. So then even if you hate to love me, you're gonna want to have what I have, because you know what? You freaking deserve it.
That's right. That's
It's
right.
for you. So
That's
you
right.
only have to claim it. And when
That's
you
right.
claim it, then that's when the universe get the memo and say, oh, wait, there is another one that wants to have an abundance life. Let's work on it.
That's right. Yeah, we're standing for the
Mm-hmm.
possibility for
Yeah.
all women. We're standing for that. And that means people might not love everything that we do because it can trigger you. But I want to double click on something that we're pointing at, because I think there's sometimes a real block for women when you said, sometimes we say yes to something, we're abandoning ourselves. I think there's a lot of women that still don't recognize, because it can be sneaky.
Yeah.
They don't recognize that they're actually abandoning themselves. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We've stopped listening to our body. We don't even know what feels good anymore. We're just listening to like all the information about what being a good girl and a good boss and a good that means.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, let me give you guys a little tip here. Okay. You know that you're abandoning yourself when it feels icky in your body.
Yeah.
When you have anxiety about going to that thing, not an excitement, because they are very similar, but you have anxiety. When you see on your calendar you have a date with a client or a date with and your stomach goes, ugh.
Ugh. Yeah.
the, when you freaking clinch, bitch. When you freaking clinch, bitch.
They're like, oh, I have her today.
Okay. Right?
The money is
That
good, but oh.
exactly, or just anything, like it's a supervisor who's
And we're
not
not
a
for
good
everybody, by all
person.
means. There
That's
might
right.
be somebody that is going to be perfect for that person. So I have fired one time a client, and it was nothing personal,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
but I felt she deserved better. Not that she needed to have a better coach, but she needed somebody who was
Different.
different for her.
Different.
And I didn't feel connected enough with her to be able to be in service. You
Yeah.
know, it
Yes.
was an energy thing. And what
Yeah.
you said about the information is 100% true. We are information junkies.
Mm-hmm.
We take everything and we think that everything is a fact. So
Yep.
if somebody comes and say, this is how you should raise your kid, you second guess yourself. You're like,
Yes.
oh, really? Maybe I'm doing something wrong. No, 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 no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take a step back,
Mm-hmm.
because that goes with everything. It's like dating. You know, you have to see what is aligned with you and what is not aligned with you. And some parenting things might work with somebody, doesn't mean it's going to work with you. It doesn't mean that your kid is going to be okay with that. You know, what are your priorities? What it is that you want to achieve? You know, when you talk about joy, I live a big portion of my life without joy. And nobody knew because I was very good at showing up joyful. Learn how to show up joyful. So people will look at me and think, this girl has everything. She's always happy. She's always this. She's always that. Yet I was coming home to a very abusive husband, which was my first husband, now the father of my kids. And I would make excuses. If you see a bruise in my face, I bump into a wall and whatever. But I was a joyful girl. And everybody would see me as a joyful girl. And it wasn't until I went to a emotional intelligence workshop that we had to create a contract for ourselves. So we have to say 3 things. And I said, I am trusting and confident, because you have to say things that you needed to remind yourself of. Okay. So right from the get-go, everybody was looking at me and why is she picking that? I mean, she comes across like a very confident person, but I wasn't. I doubt myself all the time. I didn't think I was pretty enough, smart enough, skinny enough. I also was anorexic. I've had a lot of issues with me. So I went to the facilitator and I said, I'm a trusting, confident person. And he says, well, you need 1 more because the exercise is for you to come up with 3. And I said, well, I don't have another one. And he looked at me and he says, well, the exercise is for you to come up with 3. And I said, well, I don't. And I was very defensive. Okay. I mean, it was like, okay, I've been with this already for like, 6 days and I'm still wasn't open to receive because I was on my right? So he said, Claudia, if you are not going to do the exercise right, maybe this is just not for you. And I would invite you to leave.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, all my buttons were pushed, rejection, not enough, not worth it. I mean,
bad student, right? Because we like to be the best student, right?
So I look at him and I said, you can kick me up. I pay for this. That was my comeback. Imagine how righteous I was. And I said, you can kick me out. I pay for it.
Wow.
And he said to me, he looked at me really close in my eyes and he said, who took your joy?
Oh.
And I want to
What?
start crying. I'm going to start crying. Because, Brooke, that moment, and I'm telling
I have goosebumps. I have
goosebumps myself because I relive that moment right now by telling you. Yeah. And I look at him and I deflated all this arrogance that I was carrying with me, all this I know it all, and all this shell to protect me so no one can give me any kind of abuse. Nobody could hurt me anymore, physically, mentally, emotionally. Nobody could do that to me. So I'm going to show up like a rock and you're not going to tell me what I have to do. And I pay for this and da-da-da-da-da-da. All that story fell in the floor. I could hear the bricks falling in the floor. Ooh. And I look at him and I couldn't say any word because actually in this exercise, we had buddies, right? They put somebody to work with you. So they're couples, right? Yeah. And my buddy was a very submissive, introvert, fragile boy. So the mother instinct in me wanted to protect this person because even though I was coming across like a
badass
bitch boss, okay?
A bulldog.
Yeah, bulldog. I had that soft spot in me that was only for my kids. The rest of the world were my enemies.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. So I was this tender, loving, caring human only with my kids. Yeah. Everybody else get to see the badass Claudia.
That's right.
So I said to this kid, we were the last ones to do this contract. And he was petrified to think that he was going to be the last one of 75 of us, right? Yeah. So he looked at me and he goes, I don't want to be the last one. And I said, you go first. I'll be the last one. Like, I'm the hero, right? I'm Goliath. I'm going to be
the grand finale.
Yes.
I'll
Don't
take
worry.
us home.
I'll take care of this guy. Okay, don't
Yeah.
worry about it. I got it. I got his number. So, right? So he went and he did exactly what he was asked for, gave his three, qualities or whatever. And then it was my turn. So I was the last one.
Mm.
Everybody was in a circle. I'm standing there, and this guy broke me
Oh, wait, he said that to you in the circle?
in the circle.
No, he didn't.
So everybody
That
had to
makes it even
go,
more juicy, Claudia.
right, because everybody had to go to him and say their contract. So everybody was going, not like nobody had to be in the front. So everybody would go to him, and he was like in a corner or whatever, and people were talking,
Okay.
what's
Okay.
noisy.
Got
But
it.
then I was the last one.
Yeah.
So then everybody started getting quiet because,
Oh.
oh, look, she's talking to him. They're having a fight. And then when he says, please go, and he pointed to the door, everybody got really quiet
Oh,
because it's like,
geez.
oh my God. And then I'm feeling all the eyes on me. And I go, you can kick me out because I pay for it, right? And
Yeah.
he said, I don't care.
Oh,
And he looked at me and he's like, who took your joy?
wow.
And I was like, oh, fuck.
Oh,
And in that moment,
wow.
it was a parade of people in my brain, a parade of people. And in that moment, I understood how many times I have given my power away,
Mm.
how many times I have allowed others to take my joy when
Mm.
my joy was a birthright. I didn't come to this world to suffer. I
Mhm.
didn't come to this world to be abused. I didn't come to this world to be beat up by a jerk. No, I came to this world to be happy. And I'm going to claim that and I'm going to run with that the rest of my life, starting today, right now, and in this place. And now
Wow.
that
Wow.
facilitator is one of my closest friends.
Oh, oh, that's too good.
15 years later.
Wow. I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you shared that because it's like visceral. I feel like myself and everyone listening could feel exactly what you have felt like in that circle, getting that feedback. And I can so relate, right? Because I was a bulldog too. That's how I was so successful in the corporate setting because I
Mm-hmm.
was a bulldog, but it was all trauma response. It was all survival. It was all armor. It was all, I will get you before you get me. And it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
really who I was. And when
I was the
somebody,
I'm gonna handle girl.
that's
I'll
right.
handle it. I'll handle it.
Oh,
Even the
yeah.
first years of
Yes.
my relationship with my husband,
Yeah.
um, he would have an issue, or we would talk about something, and I was the first one to volunteer. I'll handle it. I
Mm,
can take everything. Just put it in my back because I
mm,
can take everything. And I am strong enough, and I am brave enough, and I'm courageous enough, and I am whatever enough. Even though I would go inside the closet and cry my eyes out when I was alone,
mm,
I was in control. And when I graduated from that training,
mm.
um, I went in the middle of the room and grabbed the microphone, and my kids were looking at me like, she's gonna talk? Like,
Your
that's
kids were there too?
by the graduation. In the graduation of the
Oh,
whole
okay.
thing, my kids were there,
Yeah.
and, and my husband was there, and they were looking at me. So the facilitator said to me, "Who wants?" He asked everybody who wants to talk, and he was looking at me, but I was like, right, with my arms crossed. And then I raised my hand up to my shoulder, not even all the way up, like, well, if he sees me, good. If not, that's okay.
Yep. I know that move.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
We're going to let the
yeah,
universe take it from here. We're going to let the
yeah,
universe decide if we get called on.
tell everybody else it's okay. So,
Right.
and he goes, Claudia. And I was like, oh, shit, I guess he saw me. Okay.
Yeah.
So I grabbed the microphone and I started to cry.
Mm.
And my kids had never seen me cry.
Oh.
I used to go in the shower and cry. I
Mm.
was strong and together always because I always thought if I'm going to raise brave girls, I have to raise strong girls. And vulnerability has no space here. We're
Mm.
going to be all strong. And my kids are badass girls. But that was like chapter 2
Mm-hmm.
because now they know that being vulnerable doesn't mean that you're not strong. You can still
Mm-hmm.
be vulnerable. And
Mm-hmm.
said that to them.
Mm.
I said, I'm sorry. I apologize in front of everybody and their family, because the 75 people had their family there for the graduation, and we were in
Wow.
a circle. And I said to my kids, I I feel I need to apologize for
Mm.
not showing you that vulnerable part of me,
Mm.
because I made a mistake. I
Mm.
was wrong.
Mm.
It's okay to be vulnerable. And I remember their faces. They're looking at me like, what happened to her? Where is my
Yeah.
mom? Bring her
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Is she okay? What have you guys
She
done with
okay?
my mom? Yeah.
Right, right. And it was a process after that.
Mm.
Come home and to be okay with crying. Now it's like, mom, stop. Now we go to a movie and they see a crying thing and they all lean to the front to say, yeah, she's crying. I was like, yeah, she's crying. Okay.
Again, it's just a commercial, but it's got me in my feels for some reason.
Did you see that? Oh my God.
Oh, but I cry over even good, like music makes me cry,
Oh,
talent makes me cry, everything makes me cry and gives me the goosebumps. We're now available. We're now available to feel it all. And how freaking amazing is that?
100%. Yes, 100%. And you know what? I love me.
Mm-hmm.
I love me with everything that comes with it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy with who I am. I don't have to excuse myself for who I am.
Mm-hmm.
This is who I am, and I'm loving every minute of it. And there is
Mm-hmm.
nothing better than feeling that way,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you
That's
for
so
putting me in the spot.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. So that was more than a workshop. That was like a program that you
That
were
was a
in.
program. Yeah.
Okay. That was a program. Oh
It
my
was
God.
an emotional intelligence program, and it was, you have
Ooh.
the first week where you discover things about yourself, and then the second one, the second part was, when you work through that, and then they have a leadership and whatever. And I did the whole program, and then that's actually how I started coaching, because I saw the
What that?
transformation in me,
Wow.
and I wanted that for everyone. I
Wow.
was gonna be I mean, I was going to be knocking doors to people and say, hey, do you want transformation? I can do that for you. You know, I just drink the Kool-Aid. Okay, let me share it with you. I mean, it
I'm
was like,
ready to ask everybody that one pivotal question that's going to change your life, like who stole your joy? Or do you know what I mean? Like those are the type of questions that we get to unpack and be like, wow, yeah, somebody took my power and I gave it to them. And I've been so angry
mhm,
because of that. I'm so angry that I abandoned myself in that way. I'm so resentful.
mhm. And that's
Right. And
okay.
then once you acknowledge it, you can release it, but we can't release it or work with it or through it until we acknowledge it. And it sounds like that juicy question brought you face to face.
Totally.
Oh my,
Totally.
that is so uncomfortable for you and yet like a life-changing moment,
What a
right?
gift. I will be
Totally.
forever
It was
thankful.
like divinely, that was like divine. Like I can't even, that is like goosebump worthy stuff right there. That's so good.
I mean, when I want somebody to just give it to me in my face, I just give him a call. I mean, when my book got deleted from my computer, I
Mm-hmm.
called him. My whole book, my whole parenting book was deleted from my computer. My computer crashed. I was in Miami for 1 month. I didn't
Yeah.
have my hard drive, so he boop, deleted. And I called him and we went for coffee. And I said, "You're not gonna believe what happened to me." And he goes, "What happened?" And I said, "My book got deleted. I just came back from Apple. I had to push the button and wiped out my computer." And he looked at me and he goes, "Yes." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't know what kind of drugs you are in right now, but
Yeah.
it's not working for me?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's like, "No, you don't understand. You're gonna write something better and it's
Oh.
gonna be amazing." And I was like, "Well, that's a way of to see life, you know."
Oh.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna jump in that boat, because of course
Yeah.
immediately you don't see those things. But then when you start analyzing everything that happens in your life, and then you fast forward a year later, 5 years later, 10 years later, you're like, thank God I didn't get that job. Thank God that guy didn't call me back. Thank God I didn't go to that trip. Everything lines up. That's
100%.
that's the beauty of it. And until now, you know, when I I'm in my lowest self, I remember that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, who took your joy? Oh,
Wow.
better yet, who did you allow to
There
take
you
your
go.
joy?
That's right. Who did you allow? Who did you give it to? That
Mm-hmm.
goes back to standards again, doesn't it? It goes back to standards. It's so true though. Like that's one of my favorite things about life is to look back at the ridiculousness of the things that you've gone through, but to see how divinely timed they were, like, but I think we have to again break out of this paradigm of how things are supposed to be in our head in order to like jump on the boat, as you said. So,
Right.
for me, getting pregnant in college, that was not the family plan. Like, my parents had already bought a house. We were like, our plan was I was going to graduate college in Boulder, Colorado, and then we were going to all move back to Southern California, where we're from. And my family had already bought a house in Lake Havasu, Arizona, because they were going to fix it and flip it for a year or so to have the money to be able to get home to California. And they'd already bought the house. And then I got pregnant with my son. And I said, well, I'm screwing the whole family plan. I'm not coming because my son's father is here. And even though we're not going to be together because I caught him cheating, not once, but twice,
Yeah.
I knew we weren't going to be together, but I knew that he wanted to be in my son's life. And so I wanted my son to have that opportunity to be in his
Mhm.
dad's life. And, so, but then I waited, like I met my husband when my son was 1 and I waited 8 years to marry him. And then I waited another 5 years to have my next baby. So my babies are 14 years apart. And I left a really high paying, solid corporate job to go
Mm.
into business for myself. Like I think everything has been orchestrated for me. And yet if I wouldn't have allowed myself to buck the rules and buck the system, then I couldn't see it in a positive light. You know what I'm saying? Because the world tells us we're supposed to do things in this order and this is what success looks like and this is what family looks like. And it's like, no, forget all that. Forget all that.
Mm.
Forget that it's you just spent all these hours on this book and the next step is to publish it, right? Like we can't waste the hours that we just spent. We need to get this out into the world. According to whom?
Right.
Whose timeline?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so it's like we have to be okay with like it's not maybe how you it's not going to go how you thought it was going to go because maybe you are being guided on purpose for something bigger and better and greater.
It's gonna be how it's meant to be.
Right? And
And
I believe
sometimes
that.
we don't see the whole picture.
No, we never do. That's why it's so painful because our brain is like, no, this doesn't make sense. It's absolutely not okay. And I
Mm-hmm.
need to control things so I'm safe. But our spirit is like, nothing is controllable here, folks. That's the mystery.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah, that's a really profound story. But I feel like every time you get kind of the carpet taken out from underneath you, while it's really scary to free fall into nowhere land, you are going somewhere. You
Mm.
are going somewhere.
Yeah. And that's where the trust the process come.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
trust yourself.
trust yourself to be able to handle, trust yourself that everything that you went through is going to serve you and that you are capable to make the
Yes.
next step. Even if
Yes.
you make the next step full of fear, you're
Yeah.
going to make the next step
That's
because
right.
that's what courage means.
Yeah.
Doing it in spite of being fearful. I love to read stories to my girls when they were little, and I used to make stories for them and
Mm,
create stories and stuff like that. But I read one story once of these emotions and I have it in one of my books. Um, these emotions that went to the lake to play. And so it was the fear and the joy and the anger and the sadness, and they were all playing, and they realized that it was late. So the anger that is always in a hurry and doesn't think, you know, grab whatever clothes they was there because they all get skinny dipping,
mm,
So he grabs whatever clothes it was there, and he happened to grab the fear outfit.
mm,
And oftentimes, when people are angry, they're
mm,
not really angry, they're just afraid. And
mhm,
that totally hit home to me because it's not that I was showing angry, but being angry is what hold me together for many years.
Yeah.
I would show up joyful, and nobody knew that I wasn't happy, but I
Yeah.
was angry at
Oh, yeah.
myself, at my reality, at the circumstances. You know, when if I think about it and if I take a step back, I could tell you honestly that I was terrified.
Mm.
I wasn't angry.
Yeah.
So, sometimes that is what happened. And if you take a step out, like, you cannot see the label if you're in the jar. So if you take a step out of the jar and
Yeah.
you look what really is happening for you,
Mm.
then you're going to see that the circumstances are just circumstances,
Yeah.
and that you
Yeah.
can change them if you see the value of what is happening in that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's hard to do that sometimes, but once you start to learn it and you start to practice it and you realize it sets you free, then you slap that stuff on everything, right?
You go to your toolbox.
That's right. And you just always looking for the bigger picture and the bigger purpose. And you try not to get too sucked in to anyone's circumstance because what else is going on here? What else is happening here? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. I love that. So tell me, what else are you doing now aside of your master class, aside of your coaching with your clients? What's coming?
Yeah. So the business has a couple different arms to it, right? We do still have the private therapy practice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a mastermind for women, high achieving, ease seeking women who are ready to ditch perfectionism so that they can elevate in life, leadership, and business. I'm working on some e-courses right now to get people some tools to get them like to the place that they can do the bigger transformation. We've got the podcast, the Unperfected Pod, and what else am I in creation of right now? Oh, so right now I'm trying to streamline because I have clients that are companies. And so I'm feel like I'm constantly in creation of trainings and workshops. And so what I'm trying to do right now is to create a hub under my business where those companies can come and send their leaders to join all my programs so I can create like one thing at a time versus four different trainings for four different companies. So
Oh, that's
that's going to
beautiful.
look like a leadership lab, like a membership where you can send your people to learn things like energy and beliefs and charisma and having hard conversations and all the things I've just been creating for the
Right.
last 20 years. And I'm ready to just put it all into one hub under my brand and have people come and join the club. So that's
That-
what I'm working on right now, streamlining, baby. So that
I
way,
know.
again,
We
those
talk
things
about
can be
this.
potent, right?
Yeah, we talk about this, and that's what I'm doing all July. I need to finish recording my online trainings and put them in
Yes.
autopilot, and get
Yes.
so many people that don't have the time to do the one-on-one, but they can still get the juicy stuff out of us.
That's
You
right. That's
make it
right.
available for them.
That's right. Like I work with women that are just they're still in perfectionism and so they're on the hamster wheel
Right.
and they've built a mini empire operating like this on the hamster wheel and they're too afraid to jump off because they think the whole thing is going to come falling down. So I'm going to give them little steps, honey, to become unstuck and to regulate your system and to like collaborate energetically and to get clear on who you are and what you want and just like baby step at a time. But that's the stuff I'm trying to create is like my women, when they come to me, they're just like, I can't even find a way off the hamster wheel. So this is me holding their hand, for an hour a week in an e-course to help them off the hamster wheel. So then they can get stabilized and then maybe they can come in and do more of that intimate container that we offer. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. And I know it's going to be successful because I know your energy and I know what you're about. So they are very blessed and lucky to have you in their life. I want to
Thank
ask you
you.
a couple of
Yeah.
questions that I always ask my guests.
Okay.
If you could go back to your 8-year-old, what would you tell her?
Oh, I would tell her I have this kind of fresh in my mind because I've been doing a lot with my inner child as I'm hitting that upper limit problem I was talking about.
Mhm.
And I would tell her that she's held because she has this fear that it's all on her always. It's all on her. She's so got to be responsible. So I
Mm.
would tell her that she's held. I would tell her that she's special And I would tell her to just keep doing her. And that's enough. Because
Yeah.
those are the things that when I get really scared and I start to sabotage or whatever, it's because I'm afraid I'm all on my own. I'm afraid that I'm just not, I'm like, I always think I'm like on the upper end of mediocre, right? But jumping into that land of greatness, it's like those old stories of come back of you're not that special. Don't be too big. So I
Don't
would
get too
just remind her,
confident.
yeah, yeah, no, girl, you're actually fucking special. You
Yeah.
are actually special. So
Uh,
own that, baby. And I got you, and I got you all the way through,
I
and you
love
got
that.
you all the way through. So those are some of the things that I'm telling my inner child on the regular right now.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. And it's so needed for us to go back there. You know, when my husband tells me that I ask a lot of questions sometimes, I say, it's because my 6-year-old is really close to me and she's very curious and I don't want her to go anywhere
That's right.
because that's how I stay young. That's how I stay feeling alive. You know, I don't go into I need to make more money. I need to be more successful. No, no, no. That's adulting. I don't want the adulting. I want the child. I want the play. I want the splash in the water when it's raining. I want the running, chasing the dog around the couch. That's what I want.
I
You know,
want the
because
wonder. Yeah.
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 And
The
so what
lightness.
do you think is your superpower?
Okay. My superpower, it's around energy, and it's like knowing what's not being said, seeing what's not being said. So when I work with clients, they tell me their story of what they want help with, and I know right away that's not it, boo boobs.
I love that. It's like, okay, tell me what you want. I'm going to give you what you need. Okay. That's what I tell them.
Yes,
You tell me
yes,
what you want,
yes,
and I'm going to
yes.
give you what you need.
Yes, yes. And the
Yeah.
same thing with companies. Companies will hire me for this, this, and this. And I get in the room with all of them for one meeting. And I'm like, I just know what's really going on here. And so I'm learning that that's something about my intuition, and I'm gifted there. And so I'm actually getting more and more curious about how to leverage those gifts. But I'm very, energetically sensitive, and I kind of know what's going on before it's said. So it helps me get there first, but it also hinders me because I feel so much all the time, and it can be very overwhelming. So my superpower, it's a double-edged sword. And so I'm working on that. But yeah, I think that's my gift, is just kind of like I walk into a restaurant, I know who's fighting, I know who's not, I know everything. And then my husband's like, mind your own God blessed business. I'm like, I'm not nosy. I don't want to know their problems. In fact, I just want to eat a damn filet and enjoy myself. But I have to know what's going on over there, or 2 aisles down the child. What's going on with the child? It's
It's
like,
like they're fighting. They're
yeah,
fighting.
oh
That's
yeah.
their
It's
first
like,
date. I do that with Ed,
yeah,
and it's, oh my
yeah,
God, they
yes,
have to meet. They have to meet. They're gonna have hours to talk about us because my
yes.
husband does the same thing. We were in the airport. We just came back from El Salvador, and we're sitting down, and I go, they're having an argument. How do you know? Look, her body language. She doesn't
Yeah.
want to talk to him. If she could just tell him to take another plane, she would do it right now.
Yep.
You know? He's
Yeah.
like,
And
how
you
do
can
you know
feel
that?
it,
And
right?
I
You can
can
feel
feel
it. You
it.
can sense it.
But you know what it is also,
Mm-hmm.
Brooke, that it goes as far, and my husband think I'm crazy,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm a witch.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, how could you feel stuff like that? Like I will go to a place
Mm-hmm.
and a fundraiser, for example, right? And I will say to him, I'm gonna wait for you outside. And he looked at me, he goes, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know. There is something in there, somebody in there. I don't know. I can't go inside with you. I need to wait outside. It's like I recognize that energy. And he's like, okay,
Yes.
we're fine. I'm just going to go give my check and
Yeah.
come back out.
Yeah. Yeah. I right. But it's like it's palpable. And then once you recognize that it's like a gift, then you start paying more and more attention to it. And
Tune
then you're
in.
just
You
like,
tune
yeah,
in.
there's just bad vibes everywhere, man. This is why it's hard to go to the grocery store
I know.
anymore. I'm just like, bro, I don't want to go anywhere anymore. It's too much.
But don't tell me that this is not so much fun with the kids, right?
It's
When they
so
come and
fun.
tell you something and you're like, what's wrong? And they go, nothing. I'm
And
like,
you're like, stuff.
listen, I saw you walking from the school to the
Yeah.
car, and I
Yeah.
already know that there is
That's right.
something wrong with you.
Yes.
You
Well, and
know?
my son will say that. He's like, Mom, he's like, you always call me or FaceTime me or text me, like
When I need you.
right when, yeah. How do you, and I've had girlfriends say that too. Like they start playing games with me. They'll think about me to see if I then text them, and I do. And they're
Mhm.
like, they're playing games with it at this point, right? But I have, that's why I celebrated that client win on Instagram, was because I had this massive energetic intuitive hit that there was a wealth upper limit thing. And that was not what we were working on. We were working on attachment and relationships. So we took this sidebar to
Mhm.
expand her capacity for wealth. And 2 months later, she got that $12 million deal.
And she was like, "Are you kidding?" But that only happened when you're open to receive.
That's
And
right.
she was so close up that
Yep.
she didn't even see the possibility,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? I
So
mean,
it's really helpful in those situations when you're paying attention of like, what does this person actually like? What's going on here, really?
mhm.
And so that's why I've started making that transition out of therapy, because what we're doing is more than therapy in that situation, right? So,
Right.
yeah,
I
that's
love
that's one of them. But I also think I'm a generator by human design, so I do have a gift of bringing joy and
manifestor.
laughter and play. I can raise a vibration too.
Are you manifestor generator or just
Just
generator?
generator.
Oh, a manifestor generator. Is your husband a projector?
He's a generator, which I'm like,
No.
how is this possible?
Are you sure?
I think I have to. I something's wrong. Something's off.
Yeah, I think I will
Yeah.
take a double take there.
Yeah. I got the result and I literally rejected it. I was like, that's not possible.
No, you're
That's
not.
not possible. That is not possible. And I don't even know what tools we would need to understand this lineup.
He came and said, "I'm a generator like you." No, you're not.
Yeah, I was like, okay. But also, like, his horoscopes never match either. So
Oh
it's just
my
really, he's an
God.
interesting one for
Ah,
sure.
maybe he's adopted. We don't know the
Yeah,
truth.
I was like, there's
The
somebody's
time and
lied
the
to you, boo
place.
boobs.
Oh my God. This
Something
is
is up.
so much fun. I love you.
Yeah, I love you too. I love you too. Was that the last question though?
Yeah, I wanted
Yeah,
to
the
ask
what's
you
your
that. I
strengths? I
always
love
ask
that.
those questions, and I love spending this time with you. Do you have anything that you want to add?
I don't think so. I think I just want to remind women that there is so much freedom on the other side of being the good girl, good wife, good mother, good perfect, right? This ideal of perfect. Like
Mhm.
scratch all that, shed all those layers of conditioning, remember who you are, and going back to that inner child. And because when we can create and parent and lead from that place, what's possible is just infinite.
Mhm.
And so, one by one, when I see a woman heal and take her mask off and step into her remembering, and then the ripple of good that does in her family and her community and her business, that's the stuff that turns me on. And so, I just want to remind you that, what the world needs is you,
Yeah.
you. And let's have some fun with this thing, eh? Like, we only got one life to live on this planet anyway. So let's have some fun. If it's not fun, what are we doing?
Right.
Truly, what are
Exactly.
we doing? So,
Amen.
yeah. And just thank you so much for having me. I'm always stoked to see you on my calendar.
Same
I'm
here.
like, this is work. We call this work. This is not work. This is not work. But I'm all about creating a life where, right, your work is joy and pleasure and play and
Yeah.
contribution, right?
My dad used to say to me, find something that brings joy to you every day and you won't work a day in your life.
And there's some real truth to that, right?
Yeah.
There's some real truth to that.
Okay. Well, thank you. I love you. And this has been a blast. I hope everybody enjoy it. I'm going to have all your information in the description. So if people want to get in touch with you, listen to your podcast, listen to her podcast, um, or any questions, you can shoot me a DM or you can contact her.
Love it. Love you too. Thanks for having me, babe.
Of course. Thank you all for listening to the Don't Shrink to Fit podcast. If you like this episode, please write a juicy comment below and subscribe to my podcast. Remember, we can only fly if we embrace each other. Until next week, Be happy, be safe, and be kind to yourself.